it's ValyGirl and the Retro Night, and we are here. Welcome to March, welcome to spring, and we are gearing up for one of the biggest game conventions in the Midwest. In the Midwest. Yeah. I mean, it just exploded over the last few years. If you have not heard of this, you should, because we are headed to Milwaukee, Wisconsin to Midwest Gaming Classic in just a few weeks. And, well, to start getting you ready, Retro Night here and I are going to, we're going to give you some pointers, especially him, about how to start game collecting. Now, you don't start with the big stuff, you start with the little stuff. But, hey, let's see what we've got. We've got some game options for you that are things to look for if you're starting your own collection, and some tips, some tricks, and some hacks. So let's just dive in.
Here we go.
All right, so you have these divided up.
I do.
All right, so tell us about it.
Well, for the beginner, I've always wanted to say start small. That's how I started.
Start cheap.
Start cheap in this case. Retro game collecting can be an expensive hobby. It really can.
Just a little bit.
And there are a lot of good quality games out there that are inexpensive. So this is my guide to Intro to Game Collecting with $101. First on our list, the ValyGirl's favorite, we got Narc.
Narc was a fantastic game, came out approximately 1990 in the stand-up. And this game, even though it was released in 1990, is still considered to be probably one of the quintessential, 80s style
arcade games.
Arcade games. And then, like you said, it's one of my favorites. This and Smash TV. So
comes in as one of our 2-player games, and price charting as of March 2024 says it's $9. It's a great 2-player platformer style with an isometric view. You basically play DEA agents and you kill drug dealers. So, take that as it were.
The very violent 80s and the war on drugs. In fact, I think one of the screens on the stand-up cabinet arcade version is Just Say No.
Yeah.
And speaking of that 1990 feel, the second one on the list, and I'm going to pull this out of the case here.
Batman. Quintessential platformer. Yes, the colors were a little bit off, but you know what? The gameplay is amazing. The game classically now runs for $10. It is a single-player platformer game. Hard to miss. Hard to miss on this. It's just a great experience.
Oh. Putting that away and moving on to our third of this particular round, we have...
Not everybody knows this game. Some call it one thing. I call it Osteonics because I think that sounds a heck of a lot cooler. And it's
Osteonics? Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, Osteonics sounds better.
Much better.
I've heard it called Osteonax, and I'm like, no, Osteonics sounds better.
And this is from Jellico.
Yeah, Jellico made this.
Jellico.
And it's a platformer. It's a medieval style platformer. Wizards, dragons, swords, swordplay, such like that.
Yeah, sounds good. It sounds like my...
Yes, actually, it is. It's. I don't want to call it a hidden gem. It's just more of an unknown game that is still good quality. As of right now, currently goes for $10. So right now we're at $30.
I mean, $30, 3 solid games that are worth the replay, and very classic type of games.
And they're easy to find at conventions, and you can even get some deals. But we'll go into the special tips and tricks later.
Okay, so next up we have a couple of very classic strategy type games. So we have, should I take these out? I probably should take these out.
This is Othello. It is a very old board game. Sometimes it is called Reversi. For those of you who had Windows 95. It came
something like that.
It came on some versions. It is an excellent little board game. It is a 2-player game, and it's very cheap. As of right now, goes for $4 and provides a very fun experience, I think, versus the computer or versus another player.
And of course, we have to go classic. Now, this isn't the original Tetris. This is Tetris 2.
Tetris is a great game. Tetris by itself is overrated on videos. It is a great game. Tetris 2. Go check it out. Goes for cheaper. You still get a lot of your Tetris play experience. Currently only goes for $9. Came out in 1993. It's actually one of the later releases. It's probably within the last 20 games released for the NES.
Okay, so we're up to 5 games now. We're up to how much?
$13.43.
So $43, 5 games. Yes, it doesn't seem like much. I remember the first year that we actually went to, I think it was the first year that Midwest Gaming Classic when it moved to Milwaukee.
Yeah.
I think somewhere I have a picture. I don't know if I can find it. If I can, I will definitely be posting it right here. But if not, when we went back to the hotel room, thank goodness, I actually had to buy one of those very large shoulder bags on site because
I remember that.
That was the year that this one decided he was going to collect a ton of commons, and there is a picture somewhere floating out in the
ether somewhere.
In the ether that shows the one of those
wall of games.
Well, it wasn't a wall. It was kind of close because it was on the bureau in front of the television in the hotel room was just this mountain of games.
I got like 30 or 40 commons that I just didn't have.
Yeah. Okay, so we can't talk about games unless we are including some of the shooters involved. So we're going to start here. This is Air Fortress.
Or Section Z.
Oh.
in this section, if you wanted to go with my guide, you'd pick one of these to keep it at $101. Both of the games function very, very well. They both go for $9. Section Z is very interesting in that it's got multiple layers to it, where it's branching paths. You can find a Google image for all the branching paths that you can take, and it changes up the shooting style halfway through. And Air Fortress, I've actually only played a couple of times. It's still a good game. It runs in 8 different sections, and it's actually got an opening story to it. And so does Section Z. So, great shooters, inexpensive, good games.
But for the purpose of this video, when we're trying to keep the budget at $101, it's one
of the two.
One or the other. So.
Both are good games. I would classify them very, very equally. I'd easily give them like 3.5 out of 5 for both of them.
And each of them go for
$9.
$9 each. So, and really, if you want to go, say, $110, you pick up both. Okay, so
now we're going to go into another favorite genre of games, driving games or racing games or even sports games. I kind of had to mix them all together into this one in order to get the categories down.
I don't know. These are the next 2 games we're doing. So
we're doing RC Pro-Am.
This is a classic.
It's another 2-player game for the collection. Inexpensive. It currently goes for $12. And with that, you can play with a friend or you can play against the computer in the tracks. And RC, radio controlled. You play little radio controlled cars running around little radio controlled tracks.
That reminds me of the days of Radio Shack.
I know, it is so cute.
And it makes me feel old. So, because I remember Radio Shack. In fact, we both remember Radio Shack.
I used to work at Radio Shack. Ooh. It's where I worked during 9/11.
Wow.
Yeah. At McChesney Mall.
Wow.
Yeah. When it was still indoors.
Okay, moving on.
We got a combo cartridge. We got Super Spike V-Ball and Nintendo World Cup. You get 2 for the price of 1.
Which is a good thing because it only costs
$11. And you can get both in the section that I have for this idea. You can get both. Super Spike V-Ball runs... You know what? Even if you're not into volleyball games, it's still fun. And let's talk about this little piece of magic right here.
I'm curious about this one from...
Oh, yeah, the old sticker? Yeah.
The old sticker.
I love finding games that have old stickers on them.
Sometimes finding these stickers just gives it a bit of history. This one is actually from a video game CD exchange store in
where?
21 Beloit Mall in Beloit, Wisconsin, which is only about 15 minutes
away
from
where
us.
we live, yeah.
All right, talk about the tape. What's going on with the tape?
I tape all 27 of my NES games that I own with blue tape that are 4-player games because there's 4 letters in 4 and 4 letters in blue. So that means that every game that I have that has blue tape on it needs a multi-tap. So you can play it with up to 4 players.
Yeah, whatever works.
And you can do that with Nintendo World Cup and Super Spike V-Ball. It's a multiplayer game.
And it's painter's tape, so it's not going to damage.
No, it's not. Minus the fact that it's a great game. It's done in the same style. The animation for Nintendo World Cup is done in the same animation style that River City Ransom is done in.
Really?
Yeah. There's actually there's a name for that style too, and I can't remember that. We'll look it up.
We'll look it up. We'll put it down.
There's a name for that style of game.
That's the joy of post-production, folks. All right, we got 2 more games, and then we're going to go on to some stuff. So, hang on. Okay, last 2 games. What are we up to so far? We have...
Well, it'd be 101 minus 22. Because these both go.
So, we'll let you do the math. And then our last 2 games.
Classics. But only one of them you'd recognize if you collect Nintendo.
We are on to the RPGs of the NES world. So, of course, we have to have... You
take your pick in this choice, though.
Another take your pick.
Yeah, it has to be take your pick.
Okay.
They're both great. Final Fantasy 1 on the NES.
This is the original.
Fantastic game. Everybody knows, well, not everybody, but you should know the Final Fantasy story. Yeah. You know, searching for the crystals, going on the adventures, grinding, building your party, white mage, red mage, black mage.
And even if you don't know it, you probably know the term Final Fantasy, which
still holds to this day, makes for a great game. But if you're not into Final Fantasy, you might want to try Crystallis. Well, it's a fantasy RPG done in a different style. It still provides a large, wide story, but you only play as one character in this one. Oh. I haven't actually had a chance we'll show some footage here, but I haven't exactly had a chance to get too far into it. It's in my backlog. But still a great game. I do know that it's a great game. Both of them go for $22 right now, currently on price charting, which takes us to 101.
101. So even if they were to get all of them, even the optional ones, we're still talking maybe 125.
Maybe 130, somewhere in there, yeah.
So really, depending what your budget is, the great thing about starting a collection, even with the prices where they've been, because it has shifted over the pandemic.
The market has totally shifted.
Yeah. Pre-pandemic, the market was a little bit, sometimes a lot more forgiving. Mm-hmm. Unfortunately, since the pandemic, with the supply and demand, it has kind of skewed in a more expensive direction. So if you're starting, sometimes maybe just looking for the commons, a few here, a few there, anybody really on a budget can actually start a collection. The larger ones will take you a little bit longer to save up for, but it also gives you a chance. You grab the small ones, you grab the cheaper ones, the easy to find ones, and then while you're doing that, you get to learn it. But hey, I'm getting ahead of ourselves because we're about to get you some tips, tricks, and hacks.
Pro tip coming up.
All right, folks. Tip number 1.
Break up the collection.
And how do we do that?
Well, personal experience. What I did was I decided what I wanted to do with a collection. My goal was to collect the entire NES set. I'm currently at 608. There are 679. But I knew that I was going to have to take it in stages. My first mini collection that I completed was the Mega Man set.
Okay.
After that, then I got all the Turtles games. Break it down into bite-sized chunks. That's what I've learned over the years. That they're more individually achievable goals. You'll budget your money a bit better. And you'll be able to focus in, especially at conventions, on what you want.
Okay.
That's what I would say for a good tip number 1.
All right. Okay. Tip number 1. Tip number 2.
Cash is king.
Yes. And I know, especially in our current day, It's so easy just to whip out a card, but when you have cash in hand
at conventions, swap meets, or flea markets,
generally any place where negotiating is available. So you're not normally just kind of walking into a store, but any of the places that you can actually sit there, talk to the people, and maybe work to make a deal, because paying full price no matter where you go and what you find doesn't necessarily always need to happen. Case in point.
DuckTales 2 goes for a crap load of money. I'll list the price right now as of today. The package here says $179. I ended up getting it on a Sunday with cash in negotiation with a bundle for $140.
And
now, does saving $30, is it a lot? No, but that's enough to.
Yes.
I mean, like in the overall grand scheme of thousands of dollars. No.
If you're at a convention, that's a meal, or that's drinking money.
That's a meal. It's drinking money. It's another game.
That's true. Or several games if you're still picking up commons.
Yeah.
I mean, that could be several games. And also, don't feel like you have to have every single one. Sometimes finding a decent deal on a game that maybe you already have that you can use as trade-in or to kind of grease the wheels.
We're both getting ahead of ourselves with the tips.
We are.
So, yes.
That's true, because that gets into tip number 3.
Tip number 3, Sunday deals. I say Sunday deals because a lot of conventions go on weekends. They'll go for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Now, these vendors are here to make money. Trick is, though, is that if they can find a way to not pack it up on Sunday and sell it before the end of the convention, they will do it. They
also know that by Sunday, not only do they not want to take it home, but they also know that there are basically a lot of the collectors and bargain hunters who have been through the convention hall. They have been through the area. They have seen what is there. This is when some of these guys pull out their big guns. Not always, but sometimes they'll keep stuff under the table just for Sunday because they know that's when a lot of these guys are still going to have some money. They're going to wait. They're going to bide their time. They're going to talk to all the vendors, and then they're going to start making those decisions. So Sundays, don't discount them. They can be some of your best possible times.
Even though the conventions will probably be shorter for a time period on Sundays, as they usually are. But it's not always going to be the DuckTales 2, the Chippendales 2, the Zombie Nations that you're going to be looking for, because those are super expensive games. Yes, are you going to get a discount on them on Sundays? Probably. But Sundays might be a good day to look for a $50 game that you might be able to get for $35.
It's basically like playing any of those strategy card games. Yes, you can, there's something that you want and you are willing to pay that price, say, first day, grab it, because it might not be there by Sunday. But then again, if it is especially one of the more expensive games, and you wait until Sunday, there's a decent chance that you might be able to make a deal. So it's always kind of if there's strategy involved and, some luck, really.
Yeah. And that leads us into tip number
4. So tip number 4, now this is going to be one of your best possible strategies. More times than not, even more so than days, more so than trades. The bundle deal is going to allow you to kind of, let's just say sometimes quantity
is its own quality. Try it. If you got a vendor there that's got a lot of NES games and you're like, wow, this guy's got like tubs and tubs of commons, let me pull out like 6, 7, 8 different commons. I might be able to get them all like 20% cheaper. That's how I started my 7800 collection. I bought almost all of them from one guy.
They see that you are there and you have the cash in hand and you are spending money at their booth. You're not just buying one here, maybe one there. You're going to walk away with 4, 5, 6, 8 games. Some commons and a few that are maybe a little bit more on the pricey end. And generally, if you put them all together and give them one solid price, a lot of times, 1 or 2 of those commons, you're probably going to get for free.
Essentially.
It's not quite a BOGO deal, but let me tell you.
It's pretty close.
I've seen this guy make some amazing deals where he has walked away. He's paid a lot for 1 or 2 games and walked away with 5 or 6 just because they know if they can get at the collector to pony up $300, $400, $500, $600 for even a single rare game. Yeah, sure, they'll throw some commons in. Why not?
Yeah.
If it makes the deal, they'll do it.
It's actually part of the reason why I don't own a copy of Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt.
That's true, because that is going to be the very last one. Mm-hmm. You've already determined that Super Mario Duck Hunt, which is the most common of commons, the most well-known of well-knowns, and it's going to be the very, very last one that he puts in his collection. Just because.
Just because.
If you watch almost any game hunting videos from any collectors, you're going to see them when they're out hunting. More than likely, almost every single video, they are going to have at least one bundle deal.
Oh yeah, so one good sized bundle deal.
And it works for the vendors too, because
now
they get rid of some stuff that maybe they have a ton of while they're actually making some money. But it really pays. You have to know what you're getting. That's when going and actually talking to the vendors and getting to know them and knowing from your own research and your own experience. So educate yourself in making sure that you know what to look for, because in a bundle deal, admittedly, sometimes if you don't know entirely what you're looking for, they're going to offload any number of things, and then it's not as much of a deal.
Which leads us into our last tip, number 5. Tip number 5.
Number 5.
5.
5.
Number 5 is the reverse of the bundle deal. Trade bait.
Yes.
Don't forget, before you go to the convention, you might actually be able to look up estate sales, garage sales, flea markets, stuff in your local area. By all means, put it up on Facebook Marketplace. Ask buddies, hey, you got any old Nintendo games? I'm starting a collection. You might be able to get a whole bunch of stuff cheap from them. Either you know them or they just want to get rid of it. And by all means, I highly suggest everyone be as honest as possible. If they have a number that they offer you, then that's their problem. Beyond that...
Hey, there's also other places. First of all, get to know your local gaming stores. If you go in there on a semi-regular basis, you get to know the people working there. Sometimes, once they get to know that you are a collector and that you're keeping an eye out, sometimes they'll keep an eye out for you. And that works really well too. Also, pawn shops.
Oh, yes.
Oddly enough, pawn shops are a decent source. Again, you really want to know what's real and what's not, like fake.
Ooh, that'd be a good video.
Yeah, I think maybe we should do that. Maybe a later video, but not for a couple of months, because our next video after this
is going to be MGC.
It's going to be MGC. Get to know your local area, connect with other game enthusiasts.
So that way, when you arrive to the convention, you have stuff that you have excess of. You have trade bait. You have things that you can look at a vendor and say, well, I want this, this, and this. I'll give you all this and $50 for that $200 game. And he goes, all right.
If you can find good deals on stuff that maybe you already have, it's not a bad thing to have duplicates, because you can have your collection and then you can have your trade pile or your trade box.
Yeah.
And that's stuff that you can use to trade in, especially for, like, we have a disc replay here in town. They take trade-ins. We garner credit. So when time comes, when they know that something that he's interested in comes in, he can go get it. The credit's already there.
Yep.
So
which I almost had enough credits, and I missed
You missed something.
Shantae. I missed Shantae on Game Boy Color.
Oh. We know a few of the game collectors here in town, and these guys compete sometimes to get to the games when they come in.
They had one come in, and I missed it by an hour.
Oh.
And they sold it for $250.
Be patient.
So
plan your strategy. Keep a record of your collection. There's some really good apps out there.
Great apps out there.
Like what? What's the name of the app that you use?
It's called Retro Game Collection.
Yeah.
It's pretty simple. It's a great app. I'm not sure if it works like this anymore. It used to work that once you downloaded the app, you got 3 individual game systems for free. And then each one of them you could pay $2 for, or you could pay $20 and unlock the whole thing. So I just paid $20 and unlocked the whole thing. It's the most expensive app I've ever bought, but it was totally worth it because it backs it up to the cloud. It's got the prices right in there. You can customize your list. You can add custom games. I love this app. So it's done everything I needed to do.
Yeah. Start at the beginning. He did it for a while and he had to take a couple of days at one point and just enter inventory. So if you start at the beginning, start entering what you're collecting. But
hey, you know what? Some people are good with spreadsheets. I'm not, I don't want to run
Excel still works.
Excel still works. If spreadsheets are how y'all want to do it, like bring out paper at a command, do I need this? So go for it. If that's your thing, I like doing it on my app because it's all right there. So, and it would be hard to keep track of over 1,200 games on a spreadsheet.
All right, guys, we hope that actually helps you start your way towards
your collection.
I think our next video is going to be, again, second Wednesday of every month, which means that the next video is going to be all about Midwest Gaming Classic.
Running April 4th through the 6th in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
At the newly named Baird Center.
Used to be called the Wisconsin Center?
I know at one point it was Wisconsin Center, and before that it was like the Wisconsin Express. It's had about 4 or 5 names, but now
20, 30 years.
Now it's called the Baird Center. But it is look at that. We have kitty sign. A great cat. But yeah, we're gonna get out of here, and I guess next time we will see y'all. We'll see you in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, the first weekend in April.
Yep.
And well, until then,
keep collecting.
Keep collecting.
Take it easy.
Thanks, Kat.
It's good. We'll leave it.
All right. Swear to God, that actually all held.
You never hit the record button.
Yeah, I did.
No, you didn't. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I did.
Don't you fucking dare.